Okay, this next unit or lesson is solving quadratic equations by factoring. So we just did by graphing, now we're going to do by factoring. Factoring you learned in Algebra 1, but I am assuming some of you may have forgotten, which is okay. We're going to do a little bit of review. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to work with, what if they give you the roots? What if they give you the solution? So what if I told you, hey, I know in this quadratic, I just solved it, and I got that the answers were 1 and negative 4. I promise. I graphed it. That's what I got. And it says, I want you to write the quadratic. Those are your answers. Write what the quadratic was. So we're kind of going to work backwards on this one. The ways, we're going to convert these to parentheses, okay? And the way that you do it is you do the opposite. So like this first answer was a positive 1. So inside my parentheses, I'm going to write x minus 1. My second answer was a negative 4. I'm going to do the opposite. So in my parentheses, I'm going to write x plus 4. Okay? Then I'm going to distribute. X times x is x squared. X times 4 is 4x. Negative 1 times x is negative 1x. Negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. And you can combine your two middle ones and get x squared plus 3x plus 4. And that is your quadratic in standard form. Oh, and they're going to want you to put equals 0 at the end. Let me do another one just to kind of make sure you get it. So what if I tell you your answers are negative 3 and 5? Okay, we're going to start by writing them back in their parentheses. And you write them with the opposite. So my first answer was negative 3, so I'm going to write it as x plus 3. My second answer was a positive 5, so I'm going to write minus 5. Now I'm going to distribute. X times x is x squared. X times negative 5 is negative 5x. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. You can always combine your middle two. Negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2x. So if your solutions were negative 3 and 5, then your quadratic was x squared minus 2x minus 15. I want you guys to try this. So real quick, your answers are negative 1 and 6. Try it. Pause it. Try it. And when you unpause it, I will show you what the answers are. Okay, hopefully you've done it. Here's how you should have done it. You should have done an x plus 1. You should have done an x minus 6. Distribute, you would have gotten x squared minus 6x plus 1x minus 6. And final answer, x squared minus 5x minus 6. Okay? That's what the first 6 are going to be like on your worksheet, so I think you're going to be fine. Oh, sorry, put equals 0. So I think you're going to be good with those. There is one on your worksheet, I just saw this, where it just gives you one solution. So let's look at that. What if they just told you the answer was x is negative 4? That means on both of your parentheses, remember you do the opposite, so you make both of your parentheses be that one number. So x times x is x squared, x times 4 is 4x, 4 times x is 4x, 4 times 4 is 16. Combine your middle ones, and you get 8x plus 16 equals 0. So on your worksheet, they do give you one where they just give you one answer. They say the answer was like negative 4 or 3 or whatever. Just use that one number in both parentheses. Okay? So it starts easy, and then of course it gets harder because it can't be math without getting harder. So let me work you through a few examples. So write this one down in your notes. Let's do 25x squared minus 10x equals 0. So now we're doing the opposite of what we just did. I'm giving you the quadratic, and you're going to have to find the solution. So we're doing the opposite of what we just did. First thing I see is there's a GCF. Okay, you've done a worksheet on GCFs. You know how to do it. 5 can definitely come out of both of those. So I have a GCF of 5. And they both have an x, so I can take an x out. So I'm going to factor that out. And the way you factor it out is by division. So 25 divided by 5 is 5. Right here, if I had 2 x's and I'm taking 1 out, and I have 1 left, I'm going to bring my minus down. 10 divided by 5 is 2. If I had 1 x right here and I'm taking 1 out, no more x's. Okay? Now that we have factored out our GCF, I'm going to take both parts. I'm going to set them equal to 0. So I set this 5x equal to 0, and I set 5x minus 2 equal to 0. And we just solve it. So here I would divide by 5 on both sides, and 0 divided by 5 is 0. Here I would add 2, so that gives me 5x equals 2, and then divide by 5, and x equals 2/5. So my answers are x is 0, and x is 2/5. Okay, that's like number 7 on your homework or your worksheet. So if you're doing number 7, this is the one you need to come back and watch. Next up, x squared equals 6x. This is going to be like number 8 on your worksheet. So if you get stuck on number 8, this is where you should come look. First thing I'm going to do is get everything on the left side. So I'm going to move this 6x over here to the left. So those cancel. And I have x squared minus 6x. You can't combine them because that first one's a squared and the second one's not, equals 0. Again, I see a GCF. They both have an x. So I'm going to take an x out. And that leaves me with x minus 6 equals 0. I guess I should slow down and explain how I got that. Here I had 2 x's, and I'm taking 1 x out. 2 minus 1 leaves me 1x. Brought down my minus, I brought down my 6. Here I had 1x, and I'm taking an x out, so there's no more x's to go with that 6. Okay. It works just like the last problem. Now that I factored, I'm going to set both parts equal to 0. So I set x equal to 0, and I set x minus 6 equal to 0. The first one's really easy. It's already solved. It says x equals 0. And the second one, all I have to do is add 6 to both sides. So x equals 6. So my answers are 0 and 6. And again, that's like number 8 if you need help. Next up is x squared plus 9x plus 20 equals 0. And this is going to be like number 9 on your worksheet. There is no GCF. All of them don't have an x, so I can't take an x out. And your number right here is a 1, so there's no number that will go into 1 and 9 and 20 other than 1. So I just have to go straight into factoring. What I'm trying to do in factoring is I want to figure out what will add to give me 9, and I knew that because it's my middle term. And I want to figure out what will multiply to give me 20. So I'm going to start with multiply to give me 20. I could do 1 times 20. I could do 2 times 10. I could do nothing times 3. I could do 4 times 5. And that's it. That's the only way I can multiply to get 20. And if you look, one of those adds up to be 9, this one. 4 times 5 gives me 20, and 4 plus 5 gives me 9. So that's what's going to go in my parentheses. I have an x plus 4, because it's a positive 4, and I have an x plus 5, because it's a positive 5. We're going to set both parts equal to 0, just like we did on the last 2 problems. And we're going to solve. So here I'd subtract 4, and get x equals negative 4. Here I would subtract 5, and get x equals negative 5. So that's like number 9 on your homework, or your worksheet, if you need help. Number 10 on your worksheet looks like this. It's 2x squared minus 3x minus 5. This one's a little bit harder because it has a leading coefficient of a 2. So I know one of my parentheses is going to have to start with a 2x, and the other one will start with an x. And the reason I know that is because my coefficient is 2, so one of them has to be a 2, and the only way you multiply to get 2 is if one of them is 2 and one of them is 1. This time, I somehow want to multiply to get, let me write that, let's start with add. I want to add to get negative 3. And I want to multiply, not to get 5, but because it has that coefficient of 2, I got to do 2 times 5, and I get negative 10. So I want to figure out how I could multiply to get negative 10 and add to get 3. So let's see. Nope, just kidding. We still want to multiply to get negative 5. So the only way we can get 5 is by 1 and 5, right? So 1 times 5 has to be my answer. Because it's a negative 5, one of them would have to be a negative and the other one would have to be positive. So really it could be negative 1 and 5, or it could be positive 1 and negative 5. Okay? So what it's going to end up being is my 5 is going to end up going with the 2, and my 1 is going to end up going with the x. There's really no really easy way to explain why. I just had to use math. Here's how I knew it had to be this way. Because when I multiply here, I would get negative 5x. And I want them to add up to be negative 3. So when I multiply here, I would get a 2x. And negative 5 and 2x gives me negative 3. So no real easy way to cheat that out. You just kind of got to try, guess and check until you figure out what goes where. But anyway, I'm going to set both parts equal to 0. Sorry, that was such a horrible explanation. It really is just like that. Guess and check is the only way to figure these kind of problems out. So I'm going to add 5 on both sides. That gives me 2x equals 5. Divide by 2, and x equals 5 halves, because that won't reduce. This one's easier. I'm going to subtract 1 on both sides, and that gives me negative 1. So my answers are 5 halves and negative 1. All right, 2 more to go. This one's like number 11 on your worksheet. X squared minus 10x plus 24 equals 0. So I want to figure out, I want to multiply to get 24, because that's my last number. I want to add to get negative 10. The only way you can multiply to get a positive and add to get a negative is if they're both negatives. So I could do negative 1 and negative 24. Those multiply to give me 24. Negative 2, negative 12. I could do negative 3, negative 8. I could do negative 4, negative 6. I'm going to stop there because ding, 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 there's my answer. Negative 4 and negative 6 add up to give me negative 10. So I'm going to have an x minus 4. I'm going to have an x minus 6 in my parentheses. And I set them both equal to 0. So I'd add 4, and x equals 4. I'd add 6, and x equals 6. So that's like number 11. Last up, 18x squared plus 15x minus 12 equals 0. This one's like number 12 on your worksheet. Looking, I can see there's a GCF 3. 3 will go into all 3 of those, so that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to pull a 3 out. 18 divided by 3 is 6x squared. 15 divided by 3 is 5x squared. And 12 divided by 3 is 4. So factoring this down, I end up, one of them is going to be a 2x and the other one's going to be a 3x. To get 4, you could either do 2 times 2 or 1 times 4. 1 times 4 is what it's going to end up being. And it's a negative 1 and a positive 4. And again, you're just going to have to do guess and check and keep trying it until you figure out what works. But set each part equal to 0. So here I'd add 1. divide by 2, and x is 1/2. Here I'd subtract 4. So 3x equals negative 4. Divide by 3, and x equals negative 4/3. So that's like what's on your worksheet. If you need help, you can always come back to this video and rewatch it if you need. All right?